Hi, boys and girls. My name is Miss Manzo. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a teacher at GLC. This summer, I am in charge of baking. I'm really excited to share my favorite hobby with all of you. I have a lot of fun and exciting recipes to share that I hope that you guys get to make at home with your families. Before we get started on any of our recipes, it's very important that we learn about oven safety. Ovens are a wonderful tool to use in the kitchen, but they can also be very dangerous if we're not careful and we're not aware of what is going on around us. I want to share a quick video with you explaining the importance of oven safety and different things that you need when operating an oven. I hope you guys have an awesome summer. I have a lot of fun planned, and I can't wait to hear from you guys. See you soon. Okay, boys and girls, being that we are going to be baking a lot this summer, it's very important that we know all of our rules for oven safety. I want you to watch this 3-minute video to learn a little bit more about oven safety.
All right, let's go through oven safety just real quick. Just a quick reminder. So you have your oven. You need to have a few things to be successful. You need a good set of oven mitts, and they need to always be dry. Don't ever use a wet oven mitt. The heat conducts right through there and you can burn yourself, okay? Long sleeves are really nice to have, especially if you're not super used to this or if you're in a hurry. Long sleeves will protect your arms, and that's a really good practice to have when you're baking. Also, you need a cooling rack, or I have like a tower. Not everybody has that. And then you turn your oven on. You have to get your parents to show you, unless you already know how to turn it on. Turn your oven on. You have to wait until it's completely preheated. Most ovens will give you a signal. If you're not sure if the temperature in your oven is correct, you can purchase one of these oven thermometers. They're very inexpensive, maybe like $5, and you can set them in your oven. You can hang them off your rack, and it will tell you if your oven is at the right temperature. So let's say we turn our oven on, okay, to 350 degrees, and you press start. On mine, I have to press start. Every oven is different. I also will check and make sure that my rack is in the center, because that's where I want it for most of my baking. Okay, I make sure nothing is in there. I close the oven door and I wait until it beeps and it tells me that my oven is ready. Then when it's ready, and just for demonstration purposes, you want to take your cookie sheet. You want to open the door completely, okay? And then you stand right in front of it and you place your cookie sheet on the rack and you just start sliding. And then right before you get to the end of it, you just give it a little push like so, and then you close the door. Okay? And then you bake it. You set your timer. Don't ever forget to set your timers, because we get distracted really fast. When your timer goes off, you check it, and if it's done, then you take it out. And in order to take it out, you want to open up again, standing right in front. You take your cookie sheet out with 2 pot holders. That's really the safest way. And place it on a cooling rack. So I have a cooling rack sitting right here, and I just place it on there. I close the door, and then I turn the oven off. Okay, don't ever forget to turn the oven off again, because we don't want to heat up the house too much. All right, and I'll see you in class. Thank you.
Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to Baking with Miss Manzo. Today, our baking recipe is teddy bear cookies. The first thing I have here, which is very important, is our recipe card. On the recipe card, it always tells us what we're making for the day, the ingredients we need, the cooking supplies we need, and then the step-by-step instructions that we follow to complete the recipe. We're going to be referring back to that throughout our class. Everything you see here on the counter are the ingredients and cooking supplies that we need in order to make our teddy bear cookies. The first thing that we start with is the oatmeal cookie mix. You can buy any packaged cookie mix. I chose Betty Crocker oatmeal cookie mix. Now on the back of the cookie mix, there's certain ingredients that you need in order to prepare this package. This calls for a stick of softened butter, which we have right here, a tablespoon of water, we have our tablespoon here that we'll use, and 1 egg. So all of these ingredients we're gonna mix together in this bowl to make the cookie bear heads. Then, after we do that, we're gonna form different size dough balls to make the ears and the snout. And then once we do that, we're gonna be using sugar to roll the snout to make it a little glistening. Okay, we have M&Ms. We're actually only gonna be focused on the brown M&Ms. These are gonna be the noses. And then we have mini chocolate chips, which I already put over here in this ramekin that we're gonna be using for the eyes. So all of these ingredients we're going to use, and once we make our teddy bears, over here we have 2 cookie sheets, and they're topped with parchment paper, okay? Now parchment paper is a really important tool in the kitchen when we're baking. This provides an area for us to put our cookies so that once they're baked, we can easily peel them off without it sticking. So that's something we're gonna be using throughout all of our baking classes. But before we start cooking and baking, we always need to wash our hands. So I'm gonna bring you over to the sink so you can see the proper way to wash your hands. Okay, so little lukewarm water. You wanna make sure you're making your hands all wet. You use a good soap, okay? You're gonna do the palms, tops of your hands, in between your fingers. You wanna make sure your hands are really clean because you're handling food. Once you have that, then rinse it off, okay? And you can dry your hands. Now we're ready to bake. Okay, so we're ready to bake. We have our oatmeal mix. First thing that it tells us to do on here is we have to preheat our oven. Now we just watched our video on oven safety, so you need to make sure that an adult is with you at all times when you're using the oven. So this recipe asks us to heat the oven to 375 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type it in. Now everyone's ovens look different, but just know that we are preheating this recipe to 375 degrees. So what we're gonna do now, while that's giving it some time to cook or start up, we're going to mix the oatmeal mix. Okay, now that it's in the bowl, it calls for the stick of butter that's already softened. We want it softened so that it's easier to work with. So I'm gonna undo it. You're gonna just drop it in. Okay, make sure you stay tidy and you throw your garbage out while you're working. Then it calls for a tablespoon of water, just so that I'm not running back and forth between the sink. I put some water in this little blue ramekin, and that way I'm able to measure. When you measure, you want to be as steady as possible so that the water doesn't fall out. That's going to go into our mixture as well. Then it calls for an egg. Now what I always like to do is I like to crack an egg in a separate bowl in case a shell falls in. And if a shell falls in, that's okay. It happens all the time. You just use part of your shell to scoop it out if anything ever got in there, okay? And then carefully throw it out, and then you can just dump your egg right here into the mixture, okay? Now, I have an apron on so that if my hands are a little dirty, I can kind of just wipe it on myself like this so we don't have to worry about dirtying our clothes. So then you want to make sure you have a wooden spoon so that you can mix your mixture together. Now you want to be careful because you don't want it to go all over the sides. Now the butter, even though it's soft, it's still a little difficult to work with, so you have to kind of just mix it around. Go in a clockwise manner. You may have to break it up a little bit and just kind of keep at it. So remember, this is going to be like a cookie dough, so it's going to be a little thicker consistency once it's all mixed together, the egg, the water, and your stick of butter. This we're doing, remember, for our teddy bear heads, the ears, and then the snout. Okay, so our mixture looks ready. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna get ready to make the teddy bear face. So because our hands are clean, we're able to handle the dough with our hands. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to grab a little bit of the dough, not too much because we don't wanna make it too big, okay? So when you do that, you're gonna just grab it and you wanna first make it into a ball. And the way you can do it, you can kind of pat it and roll it, okay? Once you do that, you wanna make it flat like a bear face. So instead of keeping it round, I'm gonna use my palms and I'm just gonna kind of flatten it out. And you want it to be around the same thickness on the whole way around, okay? And you can make it at any size you want, but just make sure if you use a lot of dough that you flatten it out so that it cooks all the way through, okay? So now, once you have your teddy bear face, what you can do is you can take one of your baking trays, which I'm just gonna leave like this because my hands are dirty, and I'm gonna just put it right here, okay? Because remember we said that the parchment paper, once that's cooked, it's not going to stick, which is gonna be great. Now, just so that my hands are a little bit cleaner, I'm gonna just run over to the sink really quick to just rinse off really fast. So now we have to get the dough to make the ears and the snout of your teddy bear. So being that my hands are clean, I'm gonna move my baking sheet so it's closer to me. Okay, so I have my teddy bear face. So now what you wanna do is you wanna make the ears. So you don't wanna use the same amount of dough. You wanna get a smaller amount, that may even be a lot, and I'll break it in half, right? And I'm gonna make them round. Remember we do the rolling, okay? And then what you can do is you can secure it, I'll do it this way so you can see better. You can secure it to the top of your teddy bear face. Okay, and you're gonna do the same thing for the other ear. Now, they're not gonna be perfect and that's okay. We'll flatten it out a little bit and we'll secure it here. Okay. So now we're ready for the snout, which we're gonna then put the M&M as the nose. So now this one we can use a little bit more dough than we would have for the ears, okay? And what we're gonna do now is we're going to make this into a ball and then we're gonna actually roll it in sugar so that it gives it a little glisten and then we're gonna stick it right in the middle of the bear's face. Okay, so we have the snout, which is actually a little too big. So if you take too much, it's fine. You just kind of put it right back in and roll it into a ball. Okay, and then I have my sugar. I put it in a flattened little dish like this just so that it's easy. You don't want to use your entire canister of sugar. I put it in a separate place. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just roll it so that the whole dough ball is covered with sugar. So it's gonna look like that. Now, what we're gonna do is similar to both the ears and the face of the teddy bear. The snout we're also gonna kind of flatten down a little bit also, okay? Now, what we're gonna do after, once you have it, okay, is you're gonna stick it in the middle of the teddy bear's head, okay? Now, right now you can't see because the nose isn't on it and the eyes aren't on it, but what'll happen is once it's baked, then we'll come and we're gonna add the eyes and the nose from our chocolate chips and the brown M&Ms. So you're gonna repeat this same process using all of your dough. You're going to make the teddy bear head, you're gonna flatten it out, put it right here on your parchment paper, then you're going to take the dough, you can separate it if you take too much, to make the ears. You'll flatten them, you'll secure it to the head, then you take another one to roll, remember? And then you're gonna roll it around in the granulated sugar, and then you're gonna make the snout. So then you'll have all of your teddy bear cookies on your tray. Now it calls for 2, so if you don't have enough space on the one, then you can grab your other one, okay? So once you've assembled all of your teddy bears, and again, they're all different shapes and sizes, which is a lot of fun, okay? You wanna make sure that you keep a tidy area. You don't wanna have all of your things all over the place. So once you use your supplies or materials that you have used, and they're done, you can put them in the sink to wash until later. So I'm just gonna leave this right here and I'll get to that while the cookies are baking. So our oven is preheated. It's ready at 375 degrees. The recipe card calls to bake these teddy bear cookies for 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, now sometimes cookies take longer, baked goods take longer. You just have to keep an eye on it. So when you're going to put this in the oven, you want to make sure you have oven mitts, because just like we saw in our video earlier, practicing oven safety, you want to make sure your hands are protected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my oven mitts and this, and I'm going to put it in the oven for about 8 to 10 minutes. Open this very carefully. You don't want to burn your arm. Open it all the way up. You're going to put it in so it's in the middle rack, and then you're going to carefully close it. Now, sometimes you may have a timer on your oven, or you can use a cell phone or a separate timer. For right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the timer. I'm going to start with maybe 9 minutes, because that's in between 8 and 10. And then once the timer goes off, we can evaluate to see where it's at, and then we'll see if it needs some more time. So I'm going to put 9 minutes on, okay? And then we're going to press start, okay? So we're gonna wait for those to come out and we'll see what they look like. So to maximize our time while we're baking, while the cookies are in the oven, we're going to clean up the area and remove all of the supplies and materials and ingredients that we no longer need at the moment. So the sugar we don't need, so we're going to put it in its proper location, okay? And then I'm actually going to put these in the sink, like we said before, and we'll clean them all at the end. Okay, our tablespoon. That way we also have enough space to assemble the noses using our brown M&Ms and the eyes using our mini chocolate chips. Okay, so we're waiting for them to cool, finish cooking, and there it is. So we're gonna clear the timer, and we wanna first make sure that they're fully cooked, right? So this time, I'm looking, they look pretty golden. So sometimes what we can do is we're able to take them out completely. I'm gonna put my oven mitt on so I'm nice and safe, okay? I would suggest using 2 hands. All right, I'm gonna take them out. Look at them, wow. Okay, so another way that you're able to check at whether your baked goods are finished is you're gonna get a toothpick, and you're able to stick the toothpick right in the middle of the cookie to see if there's any more of the batter on the toothpick. So we're gonna do that right now. So I'm gonna just turn this around so we're looking at it as teddy bears. Now, when things bake, sometimes they mush together, right? So we sometimes can doctor it up after with a spoon and make it look a little more presentable. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my toothpick and I'm gonna put it right in the middle, and I pull it out and there's no excess batter. So that means that these cookies are fully done. So now, can't forget, as we saw in the video, to turn your oven off. So we're gonna let that cool. And again, it's still very hot, so you don't wanna go inside this oven right now. So we're gonna let these cool just a little bit, but while they're still warm is when the recipe calls for us to put the eyes and the nose on the teddy bears. So we're gonna give it a couple minutes just until they cool a little bit. Okay, I think they're cool enough. So we're gonna go get our ramekins with the eyes and the nose, okay? So, it doesn't matter which one you wanna do first. Now these mini morsels are really mini, and depending on the size of your bear, we don't really want them to get lost. So you may wanna put more than one as the eye. You can kind of clump them together to make like a bigger circle. We're gonna see how this looks. Maybe use like 3 or 4 of them. Okay, so again, this is like almost like art, right? There's no mistakes. There it is, that's kind of cute. So we can use about 4 of them, okay? And again, you wanna make sure that they're cool, because if they're too hot, the chocolate chips will melt and you may burn your fingers, so you have to be very careful. And again, that's when you can use the adult at home to help you see if it's warm, cool enough, okay? So we have the eyes, then we're gonna take the M&M, okay, for the nose. Now I would turn it so that the M is not showing, and then you could put it right there, okay? And you push it down just a little bit, all right? Now if you notice, the way that the snout was is a little bit, you can't really see it too much. So if you want, you can get like a butter knife and kind of outline it if you want to make it more pronounced. So I'll try that on this one too. Okay, so I got my butter knife. Again, a butter knife is a little bit smoother than a sharp knife, and this we can use to make some different details. So we're gonna just kind of trace around, and again, nothing is perfect. We're gonna eat this anyway, right? So you're gonna just make it a little indentation around where the snout was. And we have our little teddy bear cookie. So now once they're fully cooled, we get to enjoy them. And I'm actually gonna sample one of these myself. So we have our teddy bear faces, they're made. I traced around the snouts to make them more pronounced, okay? And now the fun part is we get to sample them. But before we do that, I just want you to know that all recipes with food, you wanna be creative, right? So for this, we just used simple brown M&Ms and then the chocolate morsels for the eyes. You can get creative. You can use rainbow sprinkles. You can use licorice to make a bow. Anything you want to do to kind of spruce it up to make it your own. So I'm going to take this little guy here. He's pretty cute. And we have to sample it to make sure that it's good. So let's see. Very good. I hope you guys have a lot of fun. If you make them at home, let me know what you think. Okay, boys and girls, so as I said to you before during our baking show that I have our recipe cards listed for the week. And I just wanted to show you a quick way of how you're able to access our recipe cards. So you want to go to our LBPS 21st Century Program Google site. Under here, you're going to go to electives, and then you're going to scroll down to where you see Baking with Miss Manzo. So this is our site now. So here it says, welcome to Baking with Miss Manzo. Okay, it goes down by weeks. The first, where the recipes are listed, those are the ingredients and cooking supplies needed. So when we open this one, it's just a list of the items that you need, along with a picture of what it could look like. Okay, then if you keep scrolling, you'll see recipe cards. And what that is it also still lists your ingredients and the supplies needed, but it also shows you your step-by-step instructions that I explained during the video. So now, because it's week 1, there are your 3 recipes off to the left. Being that I just went over the teddy bear cookies, this is where you would find today's recipe card. I hope this helps, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed the baking show and that you get a chance to maybe make some of the things that I show you in our show. Have a great one. What I wanted to do at the end of each video is kind of go over some vocabulary or new things that we may have learned within our recipe. Today we talked about softening butter. I didn't really touch upon it too much during the actual cooking show. However, I wanted to show a little video that kind of goes a little bit more into detail about softening butter and how we might be able to do that. I know for myself, sometimes if a recipe calls for softening butter and I don't see it ahead of time and I'm ready to make my recipe, I realize it and I say, oh no, I didn't soften the butter. So we're always looking for those life hacks, right? So what we're going to show right now is a video expressing a life hack for how to soften butter. And it's something that I use often because I sometimes don't pre-read my recipes ahead of time.
Whenever I'm chatting with readers about their recent recipe failures, I always ask them about their butter. Was it too cold? Was it too hot? How did you mix it in with the other ingredients? Now, what most people don't realize is that room temperature butter is actually much cooler than you think. Recipes that call for room temperature or softened butter need butter that's about 65 degrees Fahrenheit or 18 degrees Celsius. It's important to use room temperature butter in recipes that call for it as opposed to cold butter or melted butter because there's actually a little bit of science involved. Room temperature butter can trap more air during the beating process, and when your baked good goes in the oven, the trapped air expands and creates those fluffy cakes and cupcakes and quick breads and muffins. To test that your butter is at the proper room temperature, give it a light poke with your finger. The butter shouldn't feel too greasy or soft. The butter will actually feel cool to the touch, and your finger won't slide all around. Always double check a recipe before beginning. If a recipe calls for room temperature butter, it may call for other room temperature cold ingredients too, like sour cream, eggs, and milk. If those ingredients are too cold, it could solidify that butter again, and the batter will not emulsify together properly. To bring butter to room temperature, I always set it out about 1 to 2 hours before beginning a recipe, but we're all human and I know we can forget, so I do have a trick for softening butter quickly. All you need is a cup of water. We'll put it into the microwave for about 2 to 3 minutes until boiling. While it's in the microwave, let's cut our butter into small pieces. Once the water is finished in the microwave, it will be very hot and the steam will be trapped inside the microwave. Place the sliced butter inside and close that microwave up quickly. The radiant heat from the boiling water will soften your butter within about 10 minutes. And remember, don't turn on your microwave because we don't want to unevenly heat that butter. We just want the radiant heat to work its magic. If a recipe calls for larger quantities of butter, arrange them on a larger plate or in a larger bowl. Don't stack them up on top of each other because they won't soften evenly. Now, don't think you can cheat and directly microwave your butter. For the best recipe success, you want to do it the right way.
Okay, boys and girls, what we're going to do here is this is going to be the final thing that we'll do at the end of every recipe that we create. This is something that kind of rates our recipe. It'll tell you what you thought of what it looks like, how it tastes, what it smells like, texture. You get to be the food critic. Now, what a food critic does is a food critic rates all those different areas of a recipe. You guys are going to be able to be the food critic based on my recipe. Now, if you don't make it on your own, you can imagine what you think it might taste like and smell like and the texture of it. We can just focus on the visual representation then, what it looks like. And then what you could do is on a plate, not a real plate, you could draw a circle to represent your plate. You can draw your recipe. And then there's going to be some questions that I want you to take a look at. 1, would you make the recipe again? 2, if you could change something, what would you change? So these are the things that I want us to focus on at the end of every baking video. So I want you to take a few minutes and you can copy this down on a piece of paper or do it on a Google slide, anywhere that you want. You get to rate the recipe. Just a reminder as you're working on this, for rate the recipe with the different stars, if you notice, all the stars have different faces on them to indicate if you're not happy with it, all the way to very happy with it. So make sure that you circle which one best fits the different category. great job today. I hope you enjoyed. See you on the next video.